You know, it's a topic as old as love itself, but the way it's happening now, and even what we count as cheating, well, that's been totally transformed. So today, we're going to dive deep and explore the really complex psychology behind modern betrayal. Here's the question that just baffles so many of us, right? We think an affair has to be a symptom of a relationship that's already broken. But what if it's not nearly that simple? What if people who genuinely love their partners, people in good, solid relationships, still find themselves stepping over a line? To really get to the bottom of this, we can't just look at the surface. We've got to peel this thing back like an onion, layer by layer. We're going to start with the obvious stuff on the outside and work our way right down to the very core. So, let's get peeling.
Okay, first things first, we have to update our vocabulary. The old school idea that infidelity is just a physical thing, that's completely outdated. Today, betrayal exists on this whole spectrum of behaviors, from these really deep emotional entanglements to this new thing called micro-cheating.
And, a huge reason for this shift is that our expectations for our partners are just sky high. Think about it. We've gone from a practical, duty-based kind of marriage to this soulmate model, where we expect one person to be our lover, our best friend, our therapist, our financial planner, our everything. That is a ton of pressure to put on one person.
So with these massive expectations kind of humming in the background, let's peel back our very first layer, technology. The internet has basically created the perfect storm for betrayal, and it has fundamentally changed the entire landscape of desire and opportunity.
A researcher named Al Cooper calls this the AAA engine. First, you've got access. Potential partners aren't in your town anymore. They're everywhere, all the time, 24/7. Then there's affordability. An online affair is cheap, right? But the real game changer, anonymity. The power to create secret profiles and hidden chats just dramatically lowers the risk, and honestly, the guilt of cheating. And this whole digital world has given birth to this brand new category of betrayal, micro-cheating. We're talking about these small, kind of subtle actions that, well, they aren't a full-blown affair, but they definitely start chipping away at the trust in a relationship. They live in this really dangerous gray area. So what does that actually look like? Well, it could be orbiting an ex's social media, just watching everything they do, or chasing, hitting like on certain photos, hoping to get a reaction. It could be keeping people on the back burner as, backup options, or even just that subtle digital flirtation with a winky face emoji. Each one seems tiny, but you add them up and you've got a real problem.
Okay, so we've seen the digital playground. Now let's peel the onion back one more layer and go deeper. We're moving from the outside world into the internal world of our own minds. This is layer 2, our psychology.
You know how our earliest relationships kind of create a blueprint for how we love as adults? That's called our attachment style. And it turns out having an insecure attachment style is a huge predictor of infidelity. Someone with an anxious style, they might cheat because they desperately crave validation and want to feel wanted. But someone with an avoidance style might cheat to create distance, to protect their own sense of independence. See how that works? And then there are certain personality traits that are just strongly linked to cheating. It's what psychologists call the dark triad. Sounds pretty intense, right? For narcissists, it's all about ego and admiration. For Machiavellians, it's strategic. It's about keeping their options open. And for those high in psychopathy, it's about the thrill, the boredom, the impulse.
But here's the thing, it's not always about some big, scary personality disorder. As the psychologist Dr. Shirley Glass said, most affairs don't start with someone thinking, I'm going to cheat. No way. They start as innocent friendships that just slowly slide down this slippery slope as one little boundary after another gets crossed.
Dr. Glass gave us this amazing metaphor to understand this. A healthy relationship is like a house, right? It's got protective walls around the couple, keeping their private, intimate world safe, and between the two partners, there are big, clear windows of honesty and communication. An affair completely flips that architecture on its head. A wall of secrecy goes up, and it blocks off the main partner. And then, a window of intimacy. Sharing secrets, dreams, fears. That window opens up to someone new. And that's exactly how the emotional connection gets rerouted. All right, let's peel back our third layer. This is where we get even deeper. We've talked about technology and psychology, but what about the primal hardware we're all running on? This is layer 3, our biology. This is where our evolutionary drives play a huge part in the impulse to stray. So, from an evolutionary perspective, the theory goes that men and women have historically faced different threats to their survival. For men, the big one was paternity uncertainty, the risk of investing in a child that wasn't theirs. This might be why men are often more sensitive to sexual cheating. For women, the bigger threat was resource diversion, the risk of their partner giving his time and protection to someone else. This could explain why women are often more sensitive to emotional cheating.
And beyond all that ancient history, there's simple brain chemistry. Let's talk about dopamine. That's the reward chemical. The thrill of someone new can cause a dopamine spike that's more than 100% higher than what you get from your long-term partner. It's a powerful neurochemical high, which can make the novelty of an affair feel, well, literally addictive.
There's actually a scientific name for this whole phenomenon, the Coolidge effect. It's a biological principle that basically says our brains are hardwired to get really excited about sexual novelty. It's like this built-in mechanism that prioritizes new opportunities, a primal drive that's still there even when we're in a happy, committed relationship.
Okay, we've peeled back technology, psychology, and biology. We are now at the very center of the onion. This is the deepest, and I think the most profound reason that people risk everything they have for an affair. It's a quest for what the therapist Esther Perel calls aliveness. And this quote from Perel, it just absolutely nails it. For so many people, the affair isn't about finding a new person. It's about escaping a version of themselves they don't even recognize anymore. The responsible parent, the tired employee, the boring spouse. It's about trying to find a version of themselves they thought they'd lost. So in this view, an affair becomes this secret door back to these lost selves. The new person is like a mirror, reflecting back an image of you that is adventurous and desired and free. All the parts of your identity that can get buried under the routine and responsibility of a long-term relationship. So let's tie all these layers together. You have modern technology creating endless opportunities. That collides with our own personal psychology and our ancient biological urges. And it's all in service of this deep, existential quest for ourselves. This whole mix creates what you could call the ultimate paradox of modern love.
And here's the core conflict. We have an impossible demand. We want our partner to be our anchor, to give us safety, security, stability. But we also want them to be our wave, to bring adventure and mystery and excitement. I mean, those are fundamentally opposing needs, yet we ask one single person to be both.
In the end, we're essentially asking one person to give us the security, the belonging, and the novelty that an entire village used to provide. And maybe that's the real question we're left with. Is this impossible expectation the ultimate central paradox at the heart of modern love?